recognize myself for closing remarks. The United States is $36 trillion in debt. In fiscal year 2024, the government spent over $1.8 trillion more than it took in. And in fiscal year 2025, the interest on our debt is expected to exceed $1 trillion. As we continue investigating waste, fraud, and abuse, and we can look no further than the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the LGBTQ indoctrination of our children, the systematic racism narrative, and the support for censorship being pushed by the heads of NPR and PBS are just several of the many abuses of taxpayer dollars. And if you are one of the select few who might support such content, you can personally support and fund it with your own money through private donations, because the reality is the United States of America is broke and can't afford it. And after all, PBS and NPR are already fundraising off of this committee hearing. The American people are closely following along today in this long-awaited hearing to hear the case for why Americans' hard-earned tax dollars should continue for public broadcasting. I think from what we have heard here today, the American people will not continue to allow such propaganda to be funded through the federal government with their hard-earned tax dollars. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting that we give over $500 million to no longer serves the public. It serves a narrow audience of wealthy, liberal elites who are out of touch with everyday Americans. Not only have the times changed and the American people who once needed these outlets can now access the news anywhere at any time, but the content that is being put out through these state-sponsored outlets is so radical, it is brainwashing the American people and, more significantly, American children with un-American, anti-family, pro-crime fake news. The American people do not support their taxpayer dollars going to NPR articles like, "How is sex determined? Scientists say it's complicated," which discusses how biological sex is not limited to male or female. Or another article about how stories on crime are rife with misinformation and racism. Or about how birds and trees are racist. Over a 7-month period, the Media Research Center discovered the PBS NewsHour gave over 90% of the airtime to the left on gender ideology stories, 90%. As mentioned earlier, PBS was the outlet that featured the child predator drag queen on the education show for kids ages 3 to 8 years old. And to clarify the record, because our witness, Ms. Kerger, lied under oath and said it wasn't featured on PBS, this show was aired on PBS on April 1st, 2021, and we will take a look at this video right now. We're using a TV today because our audio system is having problems. Let's go ahead and watch this video.
So, get your singing voices ready. And we're going to start with our hips. The hips on the drag queen go swish, 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 swish. The shoulders on the drag queen go shimmy, 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 shimmy. Shimmy, 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 blah, 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 blah. The mouth of the drag queen goes blah, 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 all through the town. So, get your singing voices.
The hips go swish, swish, swish. The shoulders go shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. That's repulsive. That's not what children ages 3 to 8 should ever be watching. A grown biological man posing as a woman. And by the way, Ms. Kerger, that was aired on April 1st, 2021. And then something happened. It wasn't an accident. And it wasn't just for a brief time that it was up. It was aired April 1st. And then somehow it expired May 24th. Later on, it was taken down. I wonder why. Wonder why that was taken down. Another egregious example includes back in 2010, PBS's Travis Smiley stated that Christians blow up people every single day. Haven't seen that ever happen in my life. And today, if you look on NPR's website, there is still zero mention of any negative coverage of any Democrat today. And trust us, there are more than plenty of examples to pull from. How about a member from this committee making fun of the governor of Texas for having a disability and living his life in a wheelchair, Ms. Marr? From headlines to podcasts to documentaries to children's programming, NPR and PBS have all but abandoned their promise to deliver unbiased, nonpartisan, and fact-based reporting. The American people have woken up to this nonsense and blatant disregard for truth, and truth matters. And they will not put up with it any longer. Contrary to the beliefs of the head of NPR, Ms. Marr, truth is not subjective. It's actually very important. And there are not multiple truths. There's just one. For a civilization to exist, objective truth must exist. It must be embraced. It must be protected. It is not a distraction, and despite many attempts to whitewash it, truth will prevail. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is using taxpayer dollars to actively suppress the truth, suppress diverse viewpoints, and produce some of the most outlandish, ludicrous content. After listening to what we've heard today, we will be calling for the complete and total defund and dismantling of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Here's how it works in America every single day, private businesses operate on their own without government funding. We believe that you all can hate us on your own dime. With that and without objection, all members have 5 legislative days within which to submit materials and additional written questions for witnesses, which will be forwarded to the witnesses. If there is no further business without objection, the subcommittee stands adjourned.